Hi everyone, my name is Bethany and I, along with my husband Sean, run Trash Pandas Thrift. We're a six-figure reselling business, and here on this channel, we share with you all of our tips, tricks, and experiences, all so that you can start and grow your very own reselling business too. Today, I'm going to expand on a concept I actually started my entire YouTube career on. It's something I've been talking about across social medias a ton more, really diving into how we run our business and trying to give everyone creative ways in order to run theirs. I made a post all over social media a little earlier this week on Instagram, on Facebook, and on TikTok that explained exactly how we do what we do. And if this is your first time coming to my channel, hi, nice to see you. I'm glad you found us here. We run a business here in New York City out of less than 200 square feet. I said in that video it was less than 200 square feet. It turns out I lied, and it's actually far less than that. We went ahead in the exact office I'm filming this in right now. It is more like 150 square feet, which makes me feel better, not worse. I go ahead and I thrift 500 plus items every single week, and I move 90% of it. I sell them off within that very same week. All of this is also done within only 2 days of sourcing. The number one comment I got is, how in the world is that possible? So I'm going to share in a more longer form content video exactly how we do it. So we have 3 different prongs in our business that I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper. We run a reselling business that makes us money in multiple streams of income. The first prong is going to be that we are live sellers on a live selling platform called Whatnot. I'm using it as the first prong, but it's actually not the biggest category of income streams in our business. However, I'm standing right next to it, and to be quite honest, it's one of my favorites. It's something we added on within the last year, and I really love it to be able to move inventory very quickly. We have videos here on YouTube all about how we started on Whatnot last year that goes over our 1 month and 3 month journey. It's been a little bit over a year. Oh wow, it's been like a year and a half now that we actually started on Whatnot. I continue to love it, and we do shows weekly. This is actually all the inventory that I'm going to be showing and selling on an upcoming show this Friday. The second prong to our business, and probably what I'm going to spend the majority of my time talking about today, and if you look in my past videos, I've talked about it as well, but not super in depth lately as to how we do it right now. We are direct wholesale suppliers to brick and mortar, buy, sell, trade stores, and consignment stores across the country. That's where the majority of my items are being sold every single week in terms of how I'm able to move items fast that otherwise a lot of people would go into the thrift store and not be able to get as many pieces in 2 days worth of sourcing to run a business in New York City in this type of space. And I'm not saying that to share as to say, this is the best reselling business that anyone could ever have. It's more so when I look on social media, I never A, see a business that looks like mine, or B, when I share about my business like I have been recently on other social media platforms, I'm immediately met with a curiosity. I'm met with this, wow, like this is so amazing. I resell part-time. I'm a part-time mom. I need to do this. I have limited space. I have limited time. I have limited resources. You're doing something I think that I can truly do. And that told me, okay, wait, I think I'm missing something here. I've been putting out so much content on my YouTube about Goodwill Outlet Haul, and we sell this on eBay, and we sell that. But truly, if we're going to be quite transparent here, our business is a little weird. We have a lot of creative strategies to make money, and all of it is what in total creates our Trash Pandas business. This is probably the portion of our business that I get the most questions on. The number one question I get asked is, how in the world did you get these relationships? How did you set this up? And it might look from the outside looking in, she has a social media, right? Like I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all of the things now. But when I first started doing this, I actually started wholesaling. I was a direct supplier for a store that was my favorite thrift store when I lived in Brooklyn over almost 6 years ago now, actually. It was the thrift store that even got me into thrifting for me, that made me love the thrill of the hunt. I lived in Brooklyn, New York about 6 years ago, and we just moved back here this year. This thrift store was the first store that I actually started selling to, and I started selling to them when I had no social media at all. All I did was I reached out to the owner. I said, hi, I loved your thrift store for years. I moved away now, so I'm not able to actually come to you in person and sell you items, but I do this for a living now. I curate vintage, I curate really trendy, great style-based pieces that I think would be perfect for your store. She happened to also be looking for suppliers and went ahead and took me on, and I sold to her for the last almost 3 years. A little while later, I decided I can do this more. I love doing this. I love being able to curate for stores. Why can't I just put myself out there and reach out to more stores? That's exactly what I did. We ended up reaching out to resellers and stores, and at this point in our business, we resell to quite a couple different buy, sell, trade, and consignment stores all across the country. I'm sharing it because I truly think is it a super accessible way to make money in your business, and I think it's just one of many different creative ways that we can use, especially as reselling continues to change. There continues to be way more resellers out there, which again, I'm not bringing this up as a negative, I'm bringing it up as a positive. There's so much clothing out there. If you are going to the thrift store and you're only finding what you might not consider great brands, you're finding items that seem to be, when you comp it, when you search it on Poshmark, when you search it on eBay, either there's a ton listed and not too many sold, or you just don't feel confident in your ability to sell that piece online. It is a whole different ballgame for a lot of brick and mortar stores. There are buy, sell, trade stores and consignment stores completely dedicated to selling kids' clothing. We have one that we sold to for a year now, and I love working with them. Not only do I get to save all those items from the landfill every time I go to the thrift store, I make a ton of extra profit every single month that I'm super transparent about for a reason. It's a category I see so many people leave behind that makes us a ton of extra money in our business. I see comments all the time on my Instagram, on my TikTok saying, I need this. I need this extra money, or I want this extra money. I want to do X, Y, and Z with my kids. And all I can think about is, wow, if they just took 100 items every single week that they got at the thrift store, they got at the Goodwill outlet, they went ahead and they gathered up all this kids' clothing. They either took it to Once Upon a Child, a buy, sell, trade store for kids' clothing, or they made a connection. They put in that effort and they made a connection, and I showed them how to go in and find a kids' store to ship to across the country through my videos. That could be life-changing. So I wanted to stand here and talk about our business, probably in a rambly way, for way too long, in hopes of making more sense in terms of how you can start doing this for yourself. This isn't the right answer for everyone. And I'm not going to stand here and say this is what everyone should do in their reselling business. I don't think that's true. Not everyone wants to sell in volume. Not everyone wants to sell that volume that same week. Not everyone wants to keep a small inventory. The third prong of our business, and I'll go back and I'll explain why it works in our second prong and how you can start out to end this video. I also have another video I can link to as well that talks more about our wholesaling to other stores. But let's move on to the third prong to make this all make sense. This is exactly what I started on. This is what I started my reseller journey on. I resell on platforms like eBay, Poshmark, and Depop as my main 3 platforms. I store all of my inventory in my apartment. And in my apartment, I am very grateful, and it is actually a blessing that I have some really great closet space, and all of my inventory stays in that closet space. I never have more than about 200 active items at one time, and I'm churning more than I'm actually having listed every single 90 days. Every 90 days, I have more than a 100% sell-through rate of my entire store. You might be saying, how in the world is that possible? It's possible because my store is actively shrinking. Because I'm selling these items so fast, I'm having to increase how much I'm listing in order to sustain it and to actually maintain my store at that size. That, in my opinion, is what I have worked towards to get to for years. There is a common reselling misconception that the more items you have, the more money you'll make. Rather, the biggest and the best way to impact your business is probably not increasing the size of your store, rather than increasing how often you churn through your inventory. I think of all of the clothes we take home as a vehicle. I don't see them as money per se, but they're a vehicle to make us money in different ways. And I have multiple different cars. I know this is funny. This is actually a side tangent. I can't even drive because I'm from New York City. So think of these clothes as all of my different vehicles, all of my different cars. They're all getting to different destinations, whether A, I'm taking an item home and I'm going to sell it on Whatnot. B, I'm taking an item home, it's a kid's piece, I'm going to wholesale to a kid's clothing store. Maybe I'm taking home a bunch of beautiful Ann Taylor dresses and sweaters that I have the perfect consignment store. She loves Ann Taylor. Their buyers absolutely swarm for it, and I know they're going to love it. Not only the owner of that store and her actual buyer base. Then to top it all off, I can go to the thrift store and still pick up items that I'm super excited to list online. I pick up high sell-through rate items, and I pick up a ton of style-based items that I sell myself using style aesthetics and keywords. That is a secret sauce as to how we're actually able to flip items so fast. It is all in style, keywords, and I think the number one thing, resourcefulness. You don't have to live in a major city in order to run a successful business. And I don't want to insert here six-figure business. That's not everyone's idea of a successful business. Whatever is successful to you, I do not want in any way to subject my standards, my goals, or my way of doing business to you, any of my viewers. I do want to show you that sometimes the reselling myths and the limiting beliefs that we let control us are the things that are stopping us from really achieving not only the business that we want to create, but that business can also help you to achieve the life that you want to live. Whether it means that you can create a great side hustle, you can create a extra income that allows you more flexibility to have more time with your family, take your kids on a beautiful vacation. Whatever it may be, there is no reason that a lack of space, a lack of time, or a lack of great inventory can stop you. There are exceptions to this, and I know there are very real-world responsibilities and constraints that a lot of us have, and I'm not the one to judge. I am quite literally the last person to judge anyone. There are so many different things that can hold us back from doing what we want, but the biggest one is always ourselves. I will share something personal to end off this video and to go into a more strategic way of how you can do this in your own business, because I think it's super helpful to kind of share where I'm coming from and where my background is from. Like I said, I resell in our apartment in New York City. I'm from here. I'm a New York City native that grew up here. There's so much pride sometimes when you're being from a place that it can feel almost as part of your identity. I moved away from New York City almost five and a half years ago now, so close to 6. I did not move away because I wanted to. I moved away because I was priced out. I started my business in a basement apartment in Brooklyn, New York that I could literally barely afford. This was not a nice place at all to start a business. I cut and pasted all of my printed labels in every single order that I made, and my very first platform I ever started on was Mercari. The post office was quite literally a trek from my house, not to mention that on top of that, I was doing all of this while in school full-time, and I had 2 additional jobs. This is not to say that I had a rough journey. I never see it like that. It's to show you that no matter where you are starting from, you can get to the place you want to be. It sometimes takes being super creative. For a long time, I never really thought that I could run a business where I could be comfortable, happy, and live where I wanted to be back home here in New York City. I let that limiting belief stop me. I never explored possibilities. A few years ago, I started thinking of a way, okay, maybe I can't live in New York City, but maybe I can live in a city that I like better than where I was currently living. And I can shrink my business in order to make more money in less space. And we came up with the idea of wholesaling to other stores and resellers across the country. I took that, I ran with that, and we grew that to a point where we could literally allow it to take us home. Not having to grow our business any further, but allowing it to have grown to a point where we are comfortable in order to source 2 days a week, have these 500 items plus, if I'm lucky, that I'm getting every single week and sell them using the most amount of efficient time possible and not a second more in order to enjoy our lives and to run a business that I'm super happy and grateful to create. It is very possible to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve in your business. It just doesn't always feel like that if we're looking at the constraints that are stopping us. If you want to grow your business on eBay, on Poshmark, and Depop, and your problem is A, you cannot find enough items, not only can you look at my videos here on YouTube, but there are so many other wonderful creators that are sharing how they're selling items that maybe otherwise people are not picking up. With style-based items, with vintage, with keywords. You could think about some other strategies to resell, right? Not all reselling has to be online. A lot of people have wonderful success selling at in-person markets, selling at in-person events, and other people do creative methods as well, even like what I'm sharing with you in terms of reselling to stores and being direct suppliers for these consignment stores. So I'll end this off with the number one question I always get when I share about this, which is, that's great, but how do I start? And my answer is going to be really funny. You just do it. I did not have a guidebook when I first started doing this. And to be quite honest, I didn't even have anyone on YouTube telling me they were doing the same thing. I just knew that I had an idea and I wanted to go for it. If you want to do the same thing or whatever it is, insert any strategy that you want to do in your business, I implore you to make an action plan, to sit down for yourself and step by step, I want to be here. I'm here. What bridge do I have to build in order to get there and climb it? For me, and in this case, if you want to do the same thing or do something similar in your business, my step-by-step strategy was I sat down, I decided what categories of items I had available to me. These had to be actual categories of items that I could get a steady supply of. For example, kids' clothes. I saw I had so much readily available kids' clothes at every single Goodwill outlet that I thrifted at. They were honestly some really great brands, some really great styles. I didn't have a lot of experience with it. I knew that was a resource I could take and mold into a great income stream. I went ahead and I Googled kids store, buy, sell, trade, kids store, consignment store, and I found some kids stores, buy, sell, trade stores, and consignment stores. I did this with every single category that I now sell in to different buy, sell, trade stores. I sell mall brands, I sell Y2K, I sell trendy items like PacSun, all the way to mature brands and Old Navy to these brick and mortar stores. All I did was I went ahead and I searched buy, sell, trade store and consignment store and insert a city or a state. I chose quite literally random cities and random states. I found them on social media or I found their email and I sent them an email introducing myself, explaining what I did. I'd love to chat more and connect if this sounds good to you. And I sent it. I got more often than not ignored, left on red. And when I did get a reply, it led to the business that we have today. You will get ignored more often than not if you want to do a similar cold calling and email strategy, and it doesn't matter. You just keep going until you build that bridge and you get to the other side of your goal. That is quite literally the exact steps that I did. I didn't share this in a video that I posted online. I wanted to really make a longer form content video because, again, the number one thing I see over and over again, and I have experienced this as well, is I first started my business and I watched videos of people who had these beautiful big businesses with these amazing warehouses and they built their stores to thousands and thousands of items. And I said, I want to be like that. So I went and I did that. I had a 4,000 plus item store. I got a warehouse unit. I got employees. I got a VA. And I sat down and I said, was this my goal? Or was this what I was presented with whenever I looked online and I saw someone who I considered successful? Do I really want to have this as my goal? Or am I just emulating someone else's version of success? Before you sit down and decide you want to do everything that I'm talking about today, decide and sit down for yourself what your specific goals are. What does your version of success look like? And there is an exact step-by-step action plan that you can create for you and your business that looks similar to what I created. Again, that's why I wanted to share with you. But I want to end off by saying it is a strength that all of our businesses are different. I'm sharing more about mine, not to make anyone feel as if they need to emulate mine, but to show them that there are different ways to run a reselling business. It is not one size fits all. And truly, you can mold your business to fit your life. You should not have to feel like you have to mold your life to fit your business. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I know this is a little bit of a different video. If you like more content like this and you want me to talk more about the actual business side and the mentality of building a reselling business, no matter where you are in terms of demographics, where you are in this part of the country, tell me and I'll make some more videos about it of me just talking the random thoughts in my head, because this is truly what I think about when I really engage with the reseller community and what I wish I saw more content of when I was first starting out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.